Hey everybody, it's Tim and Steve here at Phantom History House. Welcome to Phantom History House Calls. All right, so tonight the call is coming from inside the house because our guest is here with us, the wonderful Tiffany Fitzpatrick. Tiffany, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm here. How could I not be?
We're so glad that you are here. So everybody, Tiffany is here for the weekend at Phantom History House. If you're watching this live, you're really lucky because you can come see Tiffany. We're having a special group reading event tomorrow night on Friday night. And then Saturday, she's here doing readings all during the day. Go to phantomhistoryhouse.com/events to sign up for all of that stuff.
Yeah, this is your third time here at Phantom History House, right?
Yes, of many more.
Of course. Definitely not the last. We're going to have you many, many more times. And this is also, I realized today, the anniversary of your first visit, because this is our grand opening weekend anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank
on
you.
your anniversary.
We made it 1 year.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 year ago we had our big. We had our first guest on New Year's Eve a year ago, and we had guests again this New Year's Eve, which was a wonderful experience. Mm-hmm. But we had an official grand opening event, and Tiffany, you came down from Indiana to be with us, sort of help get the house ready in all kinds of different ways.
Yeah.
And you're here again to celebrate that and do the special event this weekend. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me yet again. It's been an honor every time.
Well, you're family at this point, so we love having you here.
Absolutely.
This is home.
Yeah. So, all right. So, disclaimer, everybody. I've got a pound cake in the oven, and I sort of mistimed it a little bit. I wanted to have it done before. So, in about 8 minutes, my alarm's going to go off, and I'm going to have to pop up and leave and go over and make sure that the pound cake gets out of the oven okay, which I don't think anybody would not, and if you're coming this weekend for some events, there might be some pound cake sitting around. So little encouragement there for everybody. So I want to start because we're calling this tonight the magic of what was it?
The magic of self-love.
Wow, there it was, everybody. The magic of self-love. But what's interesting is when you sent that title to us, you spelled magic, Magick. Mm-hmm. Can you explain that first?
Absolutely. So I've been an eclectic witch for about 23 years, and there's a very different vibe to magic with a K, magic without a K. So anyone who's really been a part of magic and spellcraft and the occult for any length of time can tell you that usually we spell it with a K. That's kind of an insider trick of knowing if someone is legit in the industry, the vibe, the spiritual, the ancestry. And so that's the difference, is really that K means that we're not just pulling a rabbit out of a hat. We're really tapping into the energies of the not only earth, but also the universe.
Okay, so we're talking about that special kind of magic tonight, everybody, the magic of self-love. Obviously, we're in the season of love. We just had Valentine's Day, where we think about love and hopefully peace and brotherhood during this time of year. Is that what was on your mind when you made that suggestion?
No, not really, actually. It was actually more a matter. Now, Valentine's was, however, there's also Galentine's. And for me, I'm a firm believer that love, lasting love, is really going to start with self-love. Because if we are not pouring into our own cup, we don't have anything to pour into others. Okay, so just in case, Galentine's, maybe everybody might not know what that is. That's a great point. So Galentine's is really if you're just loving your girlfriends, you're tending to your sisters or tending to yourself. And it's not gender-based. It's really just a matter of loving others. And maybe it's not a romantic love. Maybe it's more a platonic love. Lots of different types of love out there.
I think that could also link to, your chosen family versus your biological family.
Absolutely.
Because, sometimes you're closer to the chosen family than those who you were blood related to, just because of circumstances or where you live or whatever. So I like that idea. Valentine's is not just solely romantic,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So where do you start a conversation about the magic of self-love? Where would you start?
Personally, I would start with, like I just said, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so making sure that you're putting energy into yourself, that you're filling your own cup first. And that a lot of people are concerned that is selfish. And so you have to give to others. You can't think about yourself first. But really, if you're not prioritizing yourself first, if you're not pouring into your own cup and making sure that you have a full battery, you can't let very many people borrow your phone. And so I like to think of, you have to make sure that your phone is charged, that your battery is charged. That way you can actually help more people in the long run. And that's where I usually start with talking about self-love and the importance of it is if you're coming from a place where you want to help so many other people, you have to put yourself first. Otherwise, you're not going to help as many people as you really want.
Now, how does that tie into the metaphysical magic with the CK witch world? Because that sounds like very important psychological way to look at things. It's very straightforward. But there has to be a metaphysical tie into that, right?
There is,
Okay.
absolutely.
Well, of course, because you're sitting here with us.
So the way I approach the occult, the way I approach shadow work, the way I approach everything really is that magic is just science we haven't really figured out yet. And so in that, when we're approaching self-love from a psychological point, we're also doing some from an energetic and therefore a magical standpoint. So if you were taking an evening to have a bubble bath and decompress and cleanse yourself and just kind of wash the day off, a lot of people don't think of that as magic, but it really is. It's a form of self-magic to release that energy and to wash the ick, the bad energies, the sadness, the whatever it is that you're feeling that you're like, this is not mine, and let that go down the drain as you're refilling your own cup. And so that is metaphysical, and that is some of those meta magics. We just don't often think of it that way.
And, to your point, it's different than the magic, like magician's wand magic. This is
absolutely
CK, and this is based on something that somebody commented on Instagram, is that magic CK is more, I don't want to say more legitimate, but more metaphysical than traditional magic.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking magicians because magicians do some incredible mind-bending things. Yeah. And I have the utmost respect for magicians. It is a very different form of magic. And absolutely, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I love this concept of taking care of yourself because I feel like our culture is not good at this. I feel like there are parents out there going 100 miles an hour and they feel like I can't stop and take care of me. Mm-hmm. But there was a time in my life where I came to realize, okay, I have to take the time to go to the gym and get exercise. I have to take the time to get enough sleep. I have to take the time to have decent meals, and that was time away from stuff I could be doing to help someone or my work. But if I wasn't able to show up in front of my students when I was a teacher as my best self, how am I going to be able to really do a good job of helping them and teaching them?
Exactly. And I had the same epiphany of learned experience of that same situation. Of course, not teaching music in front of a bunch of students.
Well, but I think your life would be very, I think my impression of learning and spending time with the wonderful people that do work like you do, psychic mediums, that kind of thing, that seems very demanding. And you're like, like Kristen comes and does readings sometimes, and then like she's in the woo and worn out. And I completely understand that after doing a number of hours of it. And so, we make sure she gets to her car. Okay. Not that she has any problem with everybody, but she's just worn out. So I would assume that's very demanding when you're doing that kind of work. You have to really be ready physically and mentally.
Absolutely. So we're much more self-aware of the energies around us, within us, affecting us, etc. And so we really are kind of tapping into a deeper current, if you will, of energy, and then utilizing that to help others, to help provide insight, or to do the occult, or to do magics, to do energy weaving, etc. And in that, it can be a very heavy load. Imagine doing a lot of brain power, a lot of brain calculations, and even though physically you may feel fine, mentally you're just exhausted. And with this energetic work, a lot of times you're physically depleted as well, especially if you're doing it hours at a time. In fact, there is such a thing called psychic sickness, where if you just kind of stretch yourself for too long, you can manifest flu-like symptoms because you've just depleted yourself. And it's interesting that you mentioned Kristen and how she just kind of is depleted. You make sure she gets to her car.
But she's very aware of that too. Yes. Like she'll be the one to say, I need something to eat. And in the middle of her day, Brian does this too when he's here, Brian Kowalski, when he's doing reads, they'll be like, I need something to eat. I need a glass of tea. I need a cup of whatever. I like that they're just aware of all of that. Okay, everybody, I have to go get my cake out of the oven. Sorry to the interruption. So you guys carry on without me for a little bit.
Well, following up on what Baker Tim was saying, is how do you, for your own self, how do you tap into those abilities to realize that, okay, I need to take care of myself? Because I'm assuming it's individualized per person on how they do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Me personally, before I start any sort of a session, whether I'm doing readings or I'm doing energy work or cleansings or protections or magic or anything in that realm of energetics, then initially I'll reclaim my energy. And this is a great step that anyone can do, whether you work in the occult or you don't, if you're a muggle, which we love our muggles. This is something that you can do yourself, and a great technique that I do before bed, but I also do before I lean into anything energetic or magical, is I will say definitively, ooh,
I'm interrupting to show everybody my pound cake. So
Smells amazing.
Smells so
sorry about
good.
the interruption, everybody. Okay, sorry. Just saying before
just another day at Phantom Mystery House.
Worth it, absolutely. No, so before bed, and this is something that everyone can do, is I will definitively and with intention say, I call back to myself all of my power, all of my energy, and I release from myself all energy that is not of me, for me, or serving my highest good. And that's a great first step. And that way I'm kind of like realigning my own energies before I step into any sort of occult or readings, etc.
I love how you phrase it that way too, because I think no matter what your job is, no matter what your day job is, you bring some of that home with you. And it's like unwinding. You have to unwind after your day. And a lot of people don't do that. To Tim's point, they're running to the kids' basketball practice, or they got to go do this or do that. It's so important to take that moment to like catch your breath and say, okay, this is for me, and that's okay. And I think there's guilt that ties into that too, though, sometimes.
There is. And I'm very familiar with that. Tim said that he's welcome back, Tim.
I'm back.
Tim said he's also very familiar with that. I'm sure most of us are. I am a recovering people person, or people pleaser. I like to say it that way, a recovering people pleaser. And so I'm very familiar with that, of just kind of being depleted and feeling like it's selfish to put myself first. And what I learned was it actually made me sick by always pouring myself out and giving into others. And it to a point it kind of broke my nervous system. And so I had, in order to get healthy, I had to put myself first. And I think a lot of people will notice that if they slow down for a moment, or they have a weekend, or if they have a holiday or a break, they get sick. It's because your body is like fitting it into your schedule. And if you're actually making time for yourself and prioritizing yourself, you'll notice that doesn't happen as often.
Or I sometimes feel like that has happened to me in the past. Of course, this never happens anymore, everybody. But sometimes I feel like your body and your consciousness knows you need to stop. You need to rest. And if you're not doing it, I think you can get sick with that almost intention of, okay, I'm going to make you lay around for a few days. So I try to think that I want to be more aware of that now than I maybe was before.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
One other thing I wanted to point out too was, you had something to say?
No, we just have some questions coming through Instagram.
Okay, we'll get to those questions as soon as I say this one point. I remember I have this habit when I was a school teacher years ago. I would come home from school in the afternoon and I would immediately change clothes. I would take off all my work clothes and I'd put on some sweats and my most comfortable shirt or tank or whatever. And I would just like take it all off and lay around. And I remember a friend of mine who was actually my principal at the school, a wonderful man. He was like, I don't remember, at some point this became known that I was doing this, and he was like, I don't do that. He said, I go home and I sit down with the paper in my tie and like he just sat in his living room after work. And he was like, I wonder why I'm not like taking that off and changing my environment, letting myself relax.
Because you got a tie on.
I know. Well, I know, but I mean, that wasn't a habit that he had ever had, and that was sort of revelatory to him to think like, that's just one example, one tiny little thing. But I do think you need to sort of take off that super suit from your job and put on your I'm at home, I'm relaxed, I can be in whatever I want.
Yeah. And you'll notice a lot of occultists or witches or practitioners, they actually have ceremonial garb, or they'll be skyclad at one or the other to specifically be in the energy of what they're working. I personally consider myself a lazy witch, so I don't actually do that. I like to lazy witch. I like to work with the energies without changing my garb, but it's something.
But I think that makes sense to me, though, that if you put on like that outfit, that special whatever, that it sort of says, okay, I'm now in that role. This is me. I'm giving that intention. I like that too.
It reminds me of that meme, dress for the role you want, and then you show up dressed up like Glinda the Good Witch.
Yes.
That's kind of what I'm picturing.
Yeah, for Elvira.
By the way, hello, Rocco from Las Vegas. And
thanks everybody who's watching, especially on Instagram. You're awesome.
Yeah, hey Danielle.
And type in and tell us where you are and where you're watching from.
Yeah. So,
by the way, we're here at Phantom History House in Tampa, Florida, with the wonderful Tiffany Fitzpatrick. I'm Tim. That's Steve. And now you have questions.
Yes. Well, Steve Urcantalo, who I actually have interviewed before for one of our past Phantom History episodes, is watching. Hey, Steven, it's great to hear from you. He had an interesting question for you, and he's had some interesting comments too. He's comparing the kind of the unplugging to like closing a portal, which I like because we use that term all the time. This term, so it's as if you close a realm and or the portal. But he has a question for you, Tiffany. After you leave a reading with someone, do you still sense their energy days later as if your consciousness is possessed by the living? Interesting way to phrase that.
That is very wordy. I like that.
Yeah.
Very, very
good question.
Yeah.
Great question. I personally do not, and that is because I have a specific care routine that I take after each reading is done. So when I do a reading, I actually don't have my sitters, my those that I read for touch my cards. That started during COVID. I'm not opposed to it. However, it's just easier. And I've learned that if I can bring their energy into the cards and into my third eye and into my heart chakra, then that's how I will read them best. And then when they're up from my table, I will release that energy back to them. And then that way I'm not still connected to their energy. That's a great question. Mm-hmm. And I know that some still do linger. In fact, I've had readings where I'm exchanging tarot with others and they'll still feel me afterwards. And in that regard, I do have to break the connection.
And that's exactly what I was going to ask. I'm like, what if you're reading somebody else and they're reading you? Because I know you go to these psychic fairs, you work with other psychics, so you absolutely answer that.
Well, wait a minute. I have a question, follow-up, Chuck, real quick.
Yeah.
So if I would think that would be an important part of the process anyway, because you need to sort of clear and get ready for the next person that's going to sit down.
Yeah.
So if you're still lingering with the other person, I feel like that would be true for any time that we're in our regular lives. If you have another meeting, you need to sort of finish that one. But I like the idea that it's so intentional.
It is.
And that's the part I love that we're talking about this, is because being aware of, okay, that meeting ended. I'm about to talk with someone else. I need to finish that, clear that, change so you've learned sort of a certain technique, or what do you do? How do you make it work?
So for a reading, if I have someone that's sitting with me, like for instance, Tim, if I'm reading for you, then as you're sitting with me, most people are kind of familiar with the fact that our energy bodies extend outward from our physical bodies. And so what I will do is I will invite an energetic cord, so to speak, from whoever I'm reading from, whether it's physically right next to me or it's virtually, which is how I make virtual readings work so accurately. Is even if you're in Denmark or you're in the Keys or wherever you may be, I can pull an energetic cord through the fourth dimension and connect it to my third eye and to my heart chakra and to my cards. And in that way, we're sitting right next to each other. We're connected and I can read you. And then afterwards, I release that back to you. And so it's a matter of thinking about plugging in like a computer cord. So you're pulling that computer cord towards you, and then afterwards you're releasing it back and letting it go.
And I want to put an intention right out into the universe that I want to do a reading with Tiffany from the Keys, because that sounded great. So we're going to make that happen. I've never been to the Keys.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I know. Everybody's always like,
we were just talking about that.
I know we were. So you just mentioned it again. So we're going to try to make that happen. We're putting that out there, everybody. We're going to do one of these Phantom House calls from the Keys.
I like that idea.
Although if we're in the Keys, we might not want to work. We'll see.
So this
Stay tuned, everybody. Sign
up
for the newsletter so you don't miss anything. All right, so next question.
We have House of the Red Dog. Hey, Kelly, watching us. She says hi to all of us.
Thanks for watching.
She is in Manassas. How are you able to do online readings? Is it harder or just different?
It's actually exactly the same. And it's because of that energetic cord. So right as everybody was kind of at home dealing with COVID and trying to figure out the whole Zoom thing, I wanted to do more readings. And it actually just happened to coincide with the shutdown. It wasn't intentional that way. And I had put out a request of, hey, anyone that wants a virtual reading, I'm trying to see if I'm tapping into the right lines. The only thing I need you to do is to tell me if I'm accurate or not. And I was accurate 12 out of 12 times. And like I said, that was as far as Denmark, the country, which was Indiana where I was, but also just around the US in general. And and Canada, actually, I did several in Canada as well. And so it's exactly the same. And it's because I'm utilizing interdimensional connections. So I'm using the fourth dimension, in which if you're familiar even with the concept of astral projection. So essentially, we're kind of astral viewing. We don't think about it in those terms because we're so used to the physical, and that's a whole other metamagical conversation, which we could do a whole other call on. But it is actually exactly the same, and it's very accurate whether you are right here in front of me or you're through my computer screen. It's exactly the same. It's just a matter of pulling that energy from the fourth dimension to the third dimension.
Do you think this is my question, do you think you can attract the energy that you put out? Because that's one thing I always say about when people ask me, is the house spooky? Is it haunted? Yes, and probably, but in a good way. And I always say, we put out good energy in the hopes of attracting good energy. Is that an accurate thing to say?
100%, absolutely. And that can work for anything. So that's one concept. That's a good question.
Sorry, don't interrupt you.
No. That's a great question. That's a lot of people are kind of familiar with the law of attraction, and that's a kind of a very similar, in the same ballpark of that realm. And it is we reflect back to ourselves what we're reflecting outward. So Carl Jung believed that everything around us is a mirror reflection of what we're going on in our subconscious within us. And so everything around us is really a reflection. So what we're afraid of or what we're hopeful for is what we reflect back to ourselves, so that we can either learn from it or grow from it, etc. And so that's exactly how that works, is if you are wanting to attract income or love, etc., putting out that vibe. However, if you're like, I don't want another bill, every time I get the mail, there's a bill in the mail, then you're going to continue to attract that vibe.
Because you're thinking about that all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. So shifting that perspective. In fact, there's a neuroscience aspect to this that you can look up. It's called the reticular activating system, RAS, reticular activating system. And it is a neuroscience explanation for essentially why our brain has bias. And so it creates confirmation bias for us because it's wanting to give us the answer that we're looking for. And that's why attraction works.
Well, and the reason I asked that was because ever since we started Phantom History House, Tim and I have been very intentional in building what we wanted it to be. And even before we built it, we had the idea, and we ran into you randomly in Indianapolis randomly in the summer of 22, I guess it was August of 22. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's been a while. We had never met you before, but we just connected. And that has happened with our other psychics and mediums who have come in as well. Yeah. So I feel like that good positive energy is making a circular effect.
Speaking of which, Brian Kowalski's watching right now. Hey, Brian, I don't know if you were on. We just talked about you a minute ago. I don't know if you missed it, but you can rewind later.
Yes, and Brian will be here on March 8th doing readings.
That's right, and a seance, everybody. So go to our website, sign up, phantomhistoryhouse.com. Everybody, this is Tim and Steve here with Tiffany Fitzpatrick talking about the magic of self-love.
Now we have another very important question coming from Stephen again. Have you stayed in the Ouija room?
I have. In fact, when y'all invited me down for the grand opening last February, you said you can have your pick of the rooms. And I was like, oh, well, it's kind of my vibe. So can I do the Ouija room? And y'all were like, yes, we can set that up for you.
But you have since stayed in the castle room, and this visit, you're in the cemetery room. Yes. So you're working your way through.
Absolutely. That's the way to do it. So I encourage everyone to make 4 stays at least.
By the way, everybody, we have one room available tomorrow night, and we are all booked up on Saturday. And I can't say we're really too upset about that, but we hope that you will come stay with us tomorrow night or Sunday or anytime.
But remember, you don't have to be an overnight guest to take part in the events we're having. Absolutely. And you're hosting a very unique to us event here at Phantom History House. See if I remember, it's an evening of quantum healing and dimensional weaving.
Yes, sir.
I've typed that a few times this past week because I've been putting it out. So I remember.
Isn't it fun?
What is that exactly like in lay terms?
This is happening tomorrow night, Friday, February 16th here at Phantom History House. Mm-hmm. Go to phantomhistoryhouse.com to the events tab to find it. So what is this event going to be?
Excellent question. Okay, so it's a individualized healing and alignment within a group setting. And so it's so you can have first-hand experience with someone doing quantum healing, dimensional weaving, using meta magics in order to help you align with your highest self, align your chakras, heal on an energetic level to help along your physical healing as well, and to help you rewrite any soul contracts that you feel are not working for you. Whatever it is, essentially, whatever it is you're wanting to bring into your life, utilizing energy to help you align with it as it aligns with you, and help you heal in the process on many different levels.
Okay, so I know that when Brian has done seances many times here, they're very popular, everybody. So make sure you sign up soon for those. He gets like people, I think spirits or messages from certain people seem to come. This seems different. This is more like you're sort of, I guess, sensing a message or some information that somebody might need. So if I'm coming to this event, here's my question, everybody. How do I know that you're not going to tell all my stuff I don't want everybody to know? It's not going to be like an embarrassing thing, right? So put my mind at ease.
That's a great, and it's actually the same of if you were to come into a reading with me and you say you have family with you or you have a spouse with you, etc. There is messages, emotional sense of this person feels a little skeptical. This person feels a little anxious, as if I am going to reveal their secrets. And so in that way, the way that the translation comes to me, because I see images mostly, and so the images will need to be translated into words so I can actually share it with everyone. It's kind of hard to relay word or images. Mm-hmm. So in that, the way that the words are translated, it will translate in a way that might seem a little vague. However, the person that I'm giving that information to hits home for them. And so that way they're kind of like keeping their secrets, but at the same time, they're getting the message. And it's important to note that regardless of what words are coming out in the physical, the energy is not necessarily operating on the physical 3D. It's going to operate on different dimensions and levels, so that healing and that alignment is still going to help you even hours, days, months, years after you come here for an alignment, because it's helping you on many different levels. So it's not just a air my dirty laundry. It's a help me get on the right path, even if I'm not ready to tell so-and-so what that path looks like for me.
Okay, so you have something. I have another question. Okay, so I'm going to back up just a minute ago, because you were talking about how when you're on a Zoom reading, that you can create that connection, and it's just as if they're in the room. Really? Okay. This may be a terrible question. You can say, "Man, let's not talk about that." But I feel like when I talk to someone on a Zoom call, a FaceTime call, to me, it's like they're in the room. Like I feel very comfortable. There are a lot of people that don't feel comfortable. Is that just like a screen thing, a computer uncomfortable thing? Do you have a theory about that? Is that even a good question?
That's a great question. And I do have a theory, although it might call out a few people in their shadow self. So if this makes you uncomfortable, just kind of sit with it. It's okay.
I love that.
It's all okay, everybody.
It's okay. No one knows that I'm calling you out. You only feel that in your head. It's okay. Now, I do have a theory. If you feel uncomfortable being on Zoom, even if it's just a private one-on-one conversation, Zoom, or if it's a group setting and maybe you have your camera off or you're terrified of being muted or unmuted. Yes, there is. It's because you're not comfortable in your own skin, and self-love magics can help you feel more comfortable in your own skin so that you don't feel like you're putting up a facade, so that you feel like you're able to engage in this. It's just like when you go to an interview versus when you're hanging out with a friend. So if you're hanging out with a friend, it's someone that you're very comfortable with. It's someone that you kind of like let your guard down around. You know each other's, it's much more comfortable, like me with these guys. Okay. Now, if you're on an interview, that might be a little different because you're wanting to put your best foot forward. So you might feel really uncomfortable, like how do I look in this window, and how does my hair look? And totally understandable. I do the same thing. You've seen me fidget with my hair lots tonight because I'm a Leo and it happens. But the more comfortable you feel in your own skin, it doesn't matter what kind of call it is, you will feel more and more comfortable, even if you're only with your tie and your button down, but you're actually just in your briefs. So yes, the more comfortable you are with yourself, the more self-love that you have, the more comfortable you are on a call.
Okay. So you're saying the magic of self-love can make that happen. Well, somebody's watching. Okay, well, how do I do it? What do I do? So God, let's just give us a few ideas. Somebody's watching. They're like, okay, I would like to do better in that way. I want to get more comfortable in my skin. I want to have more self-love. Where do they start? What do they do?
Excellent question. So we talked a little bit about calling our energy back and releasing what's not ours. That's a great starting technique. Another one, which is really powerful, so take your own pace at this, is called mirror work. Essentially, it's looking at yourself in the mirror without judging, without critiquing, without breaking yourself apart, just looking at yourself in the mirror. Move up from that of giving yourself affirmations. I know that sounds really corny. It sounds corny because it actually works. And a lot of people feel uncomfortable with it, so they stop doing it. That discomfort is your discomfort with yourself. So here we
wait. Let's talk about this. This is good. Are you summarizing, or is there more? I have 2 questions already. Okay, so the mirror work. You know, Louise Hay is a famous sort of self-help guru. I don't know if you know her a bit or not.
I know the name.
Yeah, anyway, she was the first one to use mirror work with AIDS patients way back in the day, to help them with their healing and their self-love around that whole epidemic thing that happened. Okay, and then the other question, wait, what's the next thing you just said? So you talked about mirror work, and then you talked about
affirmations and how it's corny.
Affirmations.
Yes.
Affirmations. So what you're really doing is when you're affirming something, you're saying really what you want to be true and what is really already true on some level.
Yes.
So I am prosperous and there's money coming to us here at Family History House. I may feel like I don't know if I really know that's true, but I want it to be true. But by affirming it, I can help to make it true.
Yes.
Tell me how to frame that in my head.
So 2 things when it comes to affirmations. 1, you need to use wording like you talk anyway, because if you're reading a letter from someone else as if it's your own words, you're not going to believe it. Your brain is going to be like, that's not me. That's not my wording. So make it sound like you, like how you talk.
So I shouldn't say like prithee, I see forsooth. No?
Unless that's how your inner monologue is. And
unless
then
we're going to the
for
Renaissance fair. I don't think that's going to help.
Yeah, I look terrible in those clothes. Keep going. Okay, so I like that. Use language that's comfortable, makes sense
that
to you.
Feels real to
feels
you.
real.
Yes,
I like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if there's a part of you, when you say an affirmation, if there's a part of you that's like, I don't believe that, that's not real, that's not true, then that's a great opportunity to sit with that and be like, why do I not think that that's real? Why do I not think that that's true? And keep asking why until you will give yourself an answer. It's just a matter of getting down to that. So maybe it's not true. Maybe I'm not a millionaire. I'm absolutely not a millionaire. But one day, yes.
It's a great word, everybody.
It's a great word. Add yet to everything. It's fantastic. Yes. So I'm not a millionaire yet. However, if I say that to myself, I'm like, no, you're not. I'm like, okay, I'm becoming a millionaire. I'm prosperous. I'm abundance. Money flows towards me. And here's the other thing is, even if you don't believe it yet, continue to say it to yourself and your brain will start to actually believe it.
Your subconscious mind starts to put that in there. By the way, I have, believe it or not, I'm going to put these 2 things together because I have had great advice in the past about doing affirmations in the mirror.
Yes.
Because you want to be passionate. You want to really, don't like mutter these softly, everybody. No, say it out loud. Hopefully, maybe there's nobody around. Get in front of the mirror and really look at yourself and like, I am this great person. These are the things that are true about me. I'm going to make them happen. That's very powerful.
Yes, absolutely. And saying it to yourself in the mirror, you can see your reaction. Yeah. So you can work on that. Just you're literally practicing loving yourself. So the way I like to step it up for clients that I work with when it comes to self-love and shadow work is look at yourself in the mirror without judgment. Give that a little bit of time. Add affirmations in the mirror. And if you're really brave, do it naked. Because how many of us judge our bodies? In clothes, out of clothes, etc.
I've never heard this wrinkle.
Everybody.
I don't mean wrinkle. Never mind.
That
love your wrinkles too.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess so.
Yes.
Really? So it's like
powerful.
You're stripping you're there as your raw self.
You're loving yourself in your raw form. Absolutely. And if you love yourself so completely, then the judgment from others. See, here's the thing about judgment is we have judgment coming at us every day, all day. Every day, all day, from all areas, whether it's just someone that happens to, imagine as you're people watching in Walmarts or on a beach, etc. There's little judgments that might come through. Now, we all do our best to try and not be so judgmental, or many of us try not to be judgmental. Mm-hmm. But it's not good those for me little ones, right? It's not healthy for any of us. So even if we catch ourselves in that moment, so we're one of those people that's passing by that someone inevitably in the world is judging. Mm-hmm. But those judgments only stick in us if we actually believe a part of it.
Yeah, but most of those judgments I find for myself come from me.
Exactly.
So that's what I have to really be careful because I'm the judgiest of the judgies around myself.
But you own that, and that's beautiful.
I learned that. Yeah, now that I know it, that's really helpful. That's the first step, right?
And then you can start to heal it by finding out why do I believe this and how can I love myself?
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where I can catch myself doing it, which was a huge step for me. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, I'm doing that judgy thing. You know, I got enough of that in my life already. Let me let that go.
So
Once I started to realize that was really, really helpful. Brian Kowalski just typed that he does the same advice to his clients. It's a great system used. Thanks, Brian, for watching.
Perfect. Yes, I love that. I love that validation. Absolutely.
Well, and one thing I would add to that too is you're talking about all this self-affirmation, which is fantastic. And here we are at the beginning of the year where, you know, we're probably past resolution time. Hopefully some of us are still hanging on to those. But one thing I hate about resolutions is they always seem to be focused on the negative.
Mhm.
Like, this is something I'm not going to do anymore, or I hate this thing about myself, so I'm going to change it. I like how it's flipped in this situation where it's like, these are all the great things that I see about myself and for myself going forward. So the whole the whole feel of that self-conversation changes.
You cannot shame yourself into changing long term. You can love yourself into evolving long term.
Yeah, I love that's so Steve. That was so wise.
I'm deep, you know, it's just sometimes.
But I mean, I really like that. Like framing it in a positive way is so. It's for example, somebody explained to me one time. I love this. Rather than saying I want to lose weight, your consciousness doesn't want to lose anything. That's hard. But in other words, I want to gain the body I want to hang my clothes on.
Ooh.
I want to get, I know that I want to get a certain kind of body that I want to feel a certain way in my clothes, for example. Like, in other words, something you want to get instead of something you want to lose. Anytime you're talking about something you want to lose, I think our subconscious is like, I don't want to lose anything.
Brilliant.
So don't talk about losing weight. Think about gaining the body you want, or gaining mobility, gaining energy, gaining feeling lighter through the world. Like, frame it in that whatever way is going to work for you. It's the same thing. So I love this idea of, but I'm ready to like go do my naked affirmations. I guess we'll have to wait till the things.
Absolutely.
Oh, we're almost out of time.
I'm not going to get any sleep tonight with you doing all those affirmations in the bathroom.
Naked affirmation night, everybody. We know what you're doing after this.
I want to say hi to Dead Site Paranormal. Thanks, guys, for joining us and watching.
Oh, thanks for watching, guys.
Stephen, again, thanks for all the great questions. I know you had more. And your story, Stephen, is fantastic. If you are watching, read through the comments. Stephen shared some of his own experiences, talking about affirmations.
And listen, a lot of those people that we're saying hello to, in fact, all of them, I think, are on our website. Either they're on a Phantom History podcast episode, or they're on the Conjuring Phantom History podcast, where we've had an interview with them. Tiffany, I think this is going to be your third appearance on Conjuring Phantom History. You're like our,
I love that.
A regular guest star. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I love Kristen's watching, everybody. What does she say?
So
those word choices in the affirmations are very powerful.
Yes.
Gold star for Tim. Yay! I got a gold star from Kristen.
So I want to point out too that we're technically a group. There's only 3 of us, but we're technically a group. And as we've talked about the subject of self-love on the Magick with the CK level, it's kind of spurred these other ideas and this thought and this conversation. This is kind of what I foresee tomorrow's event being like. Is that right?
A little bit. It's going to be more. See, here's the thing about, and which is why I love doing dimensional weaving and quantum healing, is because it really gets to that nitty gritty. It's that sigh of relief when you really get the wording right, or when you are able to really kind of relax into something because finally you feel safe. Like it's that sigh of contentment of like, oh, finally. And that's really tonight is fantastic. And, we're giving you like kind of beginner steps of self-love. Tomorrow night is kind of going to be super fast tracked of like, okay, this is great, but I've done the affirmations, I've done the mirror work. Like I really want to align with this, with a new timeline, or I really want to shift my soul contracts, or really like, I just need a change. I just don't know what the heck I need. Perfect. Let's fast track it tomorrow. And if you're ready to just kind of like bare bones it and let's get you aligned, tomorrow is going to be perfect for you.
Tomorrow night, everybody here at Phantom History House, Tiffany's going to be doing a special individualized healing in a group setting. It's at 7 p.m. Still some tickets available. It's totally going to be worth you coming down here. I made a pound cake. Just saying. We just pulled it out the other minute ago. Yes. If you're watching, by the way, she's also here on Saturday doing readings. You can go book that time as well at Phantom History House to make sure that you can take advantage of you being in town, which is awesome. Yes. And if for some reason those times on Saturday don't work for you, we might can find you another time, another day. So just be in touch.
Yeah, and of course you can connect with Tiffany virtually when she's not here to do those readings as well. Yeah. And we also want to remind you that we are going to be out and about in the next couple of weeks doing some on-site vendor expos.
We're putting ourselves out there, Tiffany. One of the things we realized coming into the new year was like we need to be out more. We need to be more visible. We need to be more doing things. So we got 2 things coming up. First, we're going to Dunellen. Is that first?
Yes, we're going to the Dunellen Train Depot, which is crazy haunted, which has me super excited. On the 24th with Spirits Row. We talked to Noreen about this a couple weeks ago, who is another friend of ours who is a psychic medium. And we will have a booth there talking about all things Phantom History. We're going to be talking about the house. We're going to be talking about the podcast. We're going to be talking about our special events. And then on March 2nd, we go to a bigger event.
Are you sitting down, everybody? We don't know what we're getting ourselves into.
It's going to be amazing, but yeah, it's big.
What is it called?
It's the World Oddities Expo. It's the first time they've ever been to Tampa, but they travel all over the country.
World Oddities
so
Expo. We're going to be there. Phantom History House is going to be there.
Yeah, there's going to be 100 or so vendors. We're going to be there in the middle of it at the Tampa Convention Center. People from all over the area are going to be coming to check out taxidermy and tattoos and collectibles and tarot and haunted bed and breakfast. So it's going to be a little bit of everything for everyone. And of course, there's an admission fee to get in, and you can browse the entire expo floor.
Come see us. Yeah, come see us. And we got some surprises.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you. We got some surprises in order that day. We're planning stuff. It's going to be very exciting. So both of these events, by the way, Kristen said in response to our conversation that she has personally felt Tiffany's healing mojo, which is an awesome, lovely compliment. And Brian Kowalski says he's going to be in Denellen. I didn't know you were going to be there, Brian. So it'll be like a big Phantom History House party day.
Yeah, it'll be like a big reunion. And then, of course, remember, Brian will be here on the 8th of March doing our readings and a seance that evening as well. All this stuff is going to be, it is on our website, phantomhistory.com/events. Check it out. We're constantly updating. And, of course, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I think that's it.
All the socials.
Threads.
We're everywhere. Yeah, everywhere you want to be, people.
We'll let you know what's happening.
And like I said, if you're coming by this weekend, I made a pound cake. We haven't cut into it yet, but I have to tell you, it looks very promising.
Yeah,
I'm very, very encouraged about it. So I haven't made a pound cake in a while. So
we'll try to save you some.
We're due.
Yeah, you better come soon because it's. Yeah, I'll make another one. If we run out, I'll make another one. How's that?
All right. Okay. Before we go, Tiffany, any parting thoughts?
Yeah. Final words on self-love for people.
Absolutely. It starts with you. It starts and it feels. And what I mean by that is, because that sounded ridiculous, but here's the thing. How you feel matters. So it's not just about I love myself. It's I feel like I love myself. I feel like I'm allowed to love myself, like I'm allowed to put myself first. And that can also be the same with feeling safe. Oftentimes, even behind a locked door and all the protections in place, we may not feel safe. But talking to yourself, because it's not just you listening, it's your inner child as well. And yet that inner child needs to know that they are loved and that they are safe and that they're allowed to explore the world. And that starts with how you feel, how you talk to yourself, how you appreciate your body and how it handles things for you, how it handles everything we put our body through. So how you talk to yourself, and it may not feel like magic because we're used to watching things like Hocus Pocus and Charmed, which are phenomenal shows. But it starts with the energetics that you have at home just for yourself. Love yourself and you'll be able to love so many more people.
Thank you, everybody who watched. And if you only caught part of this, the recording, as soon as we're done, the recording will be there wherever you saw it. It will be on our YouTube channel, Facebook, etc. So hope that you will go back and watch the whole thing. I got to tell you what I'm about to go do. I'm about to go get naked and do affirmations in front of a mirror, according to Tiffany's.
And I'll be cleaning up the kitchen. It's still a mess from the pound cake. So yeah, we got our night planned. Just kidding.
Mirrors and nakedness and pound cake.
I can't believe I said that on live TV.
See, he's very comfortable with the Zoom world.
I am. This has been super fun. I've loved the energy of this conversation, Tiffany. We always have so much fun when you're around. I'm glad you're going to be here all weekend.
Me too. I love being here, and I already can't wait to come back.
I love it.
You are awesome for watching. If you thought this was a good conversation and was sort of helpful, I'm pointing to people. I'll do the Disney point this friend here. 2 fingers. 2 fingers is not. This is the Disney point with 2 fingers. Wow. So if you are thinking this is helpful, everybody, tell somebody about it. Right? The recording is there. Tell somebody it's there, and they can get some help to get started on their own healing path.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Hope to see you soon. Bye.
See ya.